Welcome back to NewsOne Now TV 1. We continue our tribute to journalist George Curry, who passed away Saturday at the age of 69. I want to go back to our panel, Hazel Trice, Etney Long, Victoria Burke, and Spencer Overton. And Hazel, I'll start with you. George was a founder of the Urban Journalism Workshop in St. Louis. He also worked with similar workshops in New York, in Washington, D.C. He absolutely believed in paving the way and shaping the minds of the next generation of journalists.
Absolutely. When I worked with George for the 7 years that he was my editor, we were based at Howard University. And so I saw on the front lines how he loved working with students. He loved teaching. Even after he left as editor-in-chief and I became editor-in-chief, he still came to my classroom. He worked with students, teaching them how to do interviewing. And he was a no-nonsense teacher when it came to young people. He didn't let them by easy. He was very hard, and some might think even very harsh. But the lessons that he taught were amazing, and they were lasting.
Spencer Overton, 2003. I'm at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Dallas. It's after 2 a.m. We have one of our parties at night, and I'm standing there with George and his fiancee, Ann, and several young students come up to me, and we're talking to me, and all of a sudden George jumps in the conversation, and we're literally having a discussion about work ethic and what these young folks need to do to prepare themselves to be journalists at 2 o'clock in the morning. George could have easily been in the bar with other journalists, could have easily been in bed, but he was there at a party, still talking to young folks at 2 o'clock in the morning about what it means to be a quality journalist.
Yeah. That was who he was. You know, last year I received an email from him, of an email he saved. I sent it to him in 2000 talking about how I was so sorry about the loss of Emerge, and he kept that email. I mean, I was just reaching out as a fan. He didn't know me at all. We've kind of gotten to know one another over the past few years, but he reached out to me. I mean, he was really into young people and development, and again, there are just dozens and dozens of people who are right now in their 40s, their 50s, they're elected officials, they are journalists, they're scholars and professors at universities who are basically shaped by him in terms of work commitment, in terms of integrity, in terms of commitment to black people. And so, you know, his legacy is really significant in terms of all of the young people he touched.
About 30 seconds before I go to break, Lauren, Victoria Burke, you heard Spencer talk about that email. One of the last letters that Senator Ted Kennedy ever wrote before he died was to George Curry.
That makes sense. You know, George, I was just during the break looking at some of the emails that have come in. Obviously, George had his, you know, he had his weekly email of columns, and the piece where George was so really concerned about black media ownership was huge. And like Hazel was saying, he was a really tough advisor, a no-nonsense person when it came to giving advice. And it was no like sugarcoating anything, which I really appreciated. It's very direct. He didn't waste any time mincing words. So obviously George will be greatly missed.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin, every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.